Everybody ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Ahsoka!
4 Midwest Guys presents Star Wars Rebels HQ.
Battles leave scars. Some you can't see.
Holocron. I'm afraid it's changing him.
I will never let my friends get hurt again.
Your anger gives you strength.
Governor Price, these rebels have proven particularly stubborn. How do you intend to solve this problem?
I need someone who sees a bigger picture.
To defeat an enemy, you must know them, not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art.
I must become more powerful.
Split the treasure. Oh,
That's a classic.
One last glorious day in the Grand Army of the Republic.
Jedi and Sith, the light and the dark.
They'll be the architects of their own destruction.
The key to destroying the Sith.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Star Wars Rebels HQ. Tonight we'll be reviewing episode 17, season 3, episode 17, Through Imperial Eyes. Here with me to do this is my brother Aaron.
Hey, how's it going, man?
How's it going, dude? And going good? Good.
Yep.
And he's back. The man, he's finally back. He's been gone for forever.
It's only been like 3 episodes, man.
It's crazy. So the whole Rebels crew is here to help us break it down. So, all right, so let's get right into it, guys. Right off the bat, it's a very different point of view, so to speak. Right off the bat, we actually get to see through Kallus's eyes for the opening scene of the show, which is dramatically different from anything we've seen so far.
I mean, it's a little different. I'm not sure if it really throws off the pacing that heavily.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's an interesting, sort of camera shot.
I liked it. I thought it was really different. Filoni's even said that he thought about shooting the entire episode that way. I don't know. Do you think that would have worked, Brian?
No, I'm glad he
Yeah,
didn't.
I think that would have been a lot harder, especially since we had a few moments where we did kind of shoot around from Ezra's point of view to Thrawn and a few other people. I think it would have been a lot harder to do it exclusively from like one angle that was, kind of changing the whole time.
I think it would have been interesting to keep going and not know who it was at first, like for maybe like the first 5 minutes or something. I don't know.
I feel like in order for like the plot, like you'd have to kind of switch or like know who you're talking about like pretty early on, like because otherwise like a lot of this episode revolves around Kallus kind of being deceitful for other people. So
yeah,
it would have been really difficult to kind of play the storyline.
Yeah,
with that point of view.
It was interesting anyway. If nothing else, I guess. So let's move on to the shuttle scene, and it's the return. Before we get to the shuttle, actually, the return of Lieutenant. I forget how to pronounce his first name. It's Lyste. It's Lieutenant Lyste. Let's just call him that.
Lieutenant Yogurt Lyste.
Yogurt. I hate yogurt, especially with strawberries. So last time we saw Lyste was season 2, the Princess Leia episode, or Princess of from Alderaan. Still eager, but still very gullible, I guess. Yeah.
He's not a particularly likable character in that he just comes across like an idiot. So.
Yeah, pretty much. He's the bumbling idiot.
Yeah, I mean, it basically comes across as he'll do anything to impress whoever he needs to impress to try to get promoted or whatever. So, and he doesn't even think about. There's no brain activity. So as soon as somebody said something, he's like, "Yeah, that's it.
That's it. I'm going to follow it and do it."
Yeah,
blindly. Yeah. Kind of get a sense that since his run-in with Princess Leia, that he's been kind of labeled maybe as incompetent, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something you see kind of heavily through the Empire, really.
Yeah.
Like on the lower levels, like there's a lot of people that just kind of get middle management and just aren't particularly good at it.
Yeah, but even he's like he's embarrassed, but he seems embarrassed when he starts talking about the princess. Even he says the last time I was in front of the Imperial High Command was, during the princess when I was with the princess.
Yeah,
from
he didn't make
Alderaan.
a good impression,
right?
Something like that.
So,
Yeah, there's definitely, like, if you want promotion, you have to kind of think about your standing within the ranks, and clearly it did not, do reflect well on him.
So he at least doesn't have a very good opinion of himself, so maybe that, reflects to others. And
no, I think he just has an accurate opinion of how others view him. Like, there's probably lots of comments you don't see on the show.
Right.
There's been a long history between, episode, or season 2, episode whatever, till now.
Well,
there's a long history of people just giving him shit behind his back or to his face.
I mean, he does, at the start, it seemed like he's...
Walking past in the hallway like, dumbass.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Although he does still have command of, I guess, like a small cruiser, but still...
Look at me, I'm Lieutenant Dumbass.
There's just a lot of stormtroopers that say shit. It's like, which one of you said that?
He's like, cut it out, TK-427.
But he also, obviously, he wants to make amends for...
Yeah, I mean, he wants to improve his standing. That way he can, be promoted to a higher position or better location.
At least quit being Lieutenant Dumbass under the breath of everybody that he...
Yeah, essentially. I mean, that may work out for him, but after this, probably not.
Right. So Ezra intentionally gets himself caught, dresses up as the bounty hunter, and he's there to get Kallus out because apparently the Imperials, they think the Imperials are monitoring his last Fulcrum transmission. So he's there to bust him out.
They're on to him.
What's that?
They think they're on to him.
They're on to him, yeah. When Kallus hears this, he seems kind of relieved at first, but then he seems kind of hesitant. Maybe he doesn't want to quite leave just yet, or maybe he doesn't feel comfortable.
He doesn't have his shiny rock on board. He can't take off without it.
Well, what's weird is I don't. It's hard to tell if he's hesitant because he feels he needs to like atone for something, like he still has more work to do, or if it's I
don't trust them.
I don't really know if I want to go completely with the rebels
quite yet.
Because right now he can back out and say, I was working as a spy and blah, 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 and I know what the rebels are doing. Yeah. Or he can go the other way and say, I've been working for a spy for the Empire and I know what they're doing.
Okay. So you think like he was only really working like as Fulcrum just to get that one lady just out of power to take her spot?
Well, no, but once he goes with the rebels, there's no going back, and he's 100% with the rebels.
Right.
But as he is right now,
he still
has options. Yeah.
Okay, so I was kind of looking at it more as a trust issue with the rebels themselves, but you could be right, Brian, that he's having second thoughts, or that he still wants the option of maybe not going that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, they leave behind the helmet. So, Kallus's big mistake here in this episode is, number one, when Lyste says he's going to take Ezra with him, he immediately tries to save Ezra. Not only do they leave that helmet behind, but he also basically sticks up for Ezra and therefore kind of puts his neck out there and says, well, this guy, he's just a bounty hunter.
I'm not sure if that's sticking out like his own neck or is like as much as trying to preserve it. Because, I mean, generally, if you take Ezra to Thrawn directly, it's going to come across as being kind of like a weird thing because Thrawn has a better idea of who he is than a lot of other people within the Empire.
Oh, okay. So I didn't think about that either. So you think that
Kallus
is doing as a self-preservation act more than trying to save Ezra?
It would come across that way because Kallus has had multiple run-ins with like the rebels and the Jedi of the rebels particularly. So, as it goes on to later in the episode, he should be able to point them out pretty quickly.
Okay. Well, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like they even mentioned that they knew the artwork from the helmet. And he's like, it looks like blah, blah, Sabine, blah, blah, blah.
Which actually seemed like a bit of a stretch at the end, to be honest. Like, it's kind of graffiti-like, sure, but I'm not sure if
I bought into that big time.
And he's like, well, then... And he said plenty of run... Like you said, if he had plenty of run-ins, he should be able to... Why wouldn't he say something? He would know who they are.
Essentially, the entire first season of this show is just Kallus, having run-ins with the Jedi and then just messing it up. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I mean, I think he didn't want Ezra to get taken over there.
Yeah.
Because he knew what would happen if Ezra goes over there.
Yeah, because they're both out.
But I don't think he was sticking his neck out per se because he was talking to Dumbass.
Well,
basically what because Lieutenant Dumbass was like,
you already got a confession out of him. Impressive. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Do you think he could have done anything differently, though, other than outing,
just putting the helmet
not outing
in the garbage
Ezra?
chute? Not really.
Well, because by not outing Ezra, he's basically he is putting his neck out there because he's saying that even though because he knows who Ezra is,
yes,
and Thrawn knows that he knows. Not to get into the he knows shit, but so he's putting he's putting that fact out there.
I mean, kind of, but at the same time, I think it's also just a delaying tactic.
Guilty by non-admission.
Yes, precisely. What were you saying?
Oh, I think it's just a delaying tactic because you do have to have Kanan and
Rex,
kind of escort him out of the ship, or if he needs that as a last resort to like get away, then you still kind of have to preserve Ezra.
Right. So he's maybe just
especially because if you give Ezra in, he could out you.
Right.
So he could try saving himself by outing Kallus.
Okay, so it's self-preservation, or he's just trying to buy time.
Yeah.
To give Ezra a chance to get out.
Well, I mean, both instances, even if he's buying time, that is also for self-preservation and for a last-minute escape if he has to.
Okay. Well, I could probably see that. I mean, like I said, I just never really, I didn't think of it as more of a self-preservation. I thought of it more of him trying to save Ezra from that point of view. But that's a good point, though, that he's actually doing it to save his own skin.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you see Kallus do for the large part does kind of come across as self-preservation or, trying to improve his position.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So they end up on Thrawn's ship. Couple observations I made right away. It seems Thrawn runs a much tighter ship than we've seen in other Imperial Star Destroyers.
There's definitely more restrictions on who has access to each facility.
Very much.
Each part of it, or he keeps better track of it.
He does. He keeps, right off the bat, though, we learn that there's an Imperial code just to get on his Star Destroyer. The other Star Destroyers, the ships kind of come and go.
They never really say that there isn't a code, but they pretty much just come and go.
Yeah, there's no, for a Star Destroyer, it's just kind of,
Like, there's no story mention of it anyway.
Right. That's the first time we've actually heard of it needing a code.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, was looks like all the stormtroopers appear to be, they all have at least the orange shoulder pad, which we know from the movies is kind of like a sergeant or a higher rank stormtrooper. So,
yeah, like it's an elite guard sort of thing.
Right, so they're all at least experienced stormtroopers of some sort or some kind, or at least some sort of a leader. I don't think we saw any regular stormtroopers till maybe the very end.
Yeah,
and even then there didn't seem to be too many of them.
Yeah, there seemed like you had a lot of veterans or a lot of very experienced stormtroopers on board.
So that he definitely values having the experience instead of not having the experience.
It could also be that with his position, he's allowed to kind of start choosing some of his staff. So that might be part
B
of it.
team.
Yeah, exactly. So he's probably gets to pick of the litter, so to speak.
Well, yeah, and then, he was, before this, he was in a warlike situation, so a lot of that might have been just soldiers that stuck with him and survived through it.
Yeah. The other big reveal for me, and I never put two and two together, because I think, Aaron, you and I even had a conversation about this not that long ago.
The pens?
The pens.
Yeah.
I always thought it was just part of their uniform rank, but no, they're actually code cylinders, which are kind of like fancy keys, which actually...
Key fobs.
Key fobs, yeah, and they actually fit into those R2 portals. That's what I've always thought them to be.
Yeah,
I never thought humans could access them. Yeah, they're droid ports. But apparently, no, these little pens that we are actually...
I've never known this either. Like, you see them in the films, you see them, like, all over the place.
Yeah.
And some of the people have, like, excessive amounts of them, like, several. And you just assume that's, part of the wardrobe.
Right, I just thought it was a higher ranking. I never put two and two together that they're actually used for... putting into the R2 unit to access or turn things on and off. Like in this episode, we saw them turn off the surveillance cameras and open the doors with it. And they also carry their own personal rank and ID and login information. Essentially,
I was like, basically, it's just your key card access at work.
Right, exactly.
Except it's in a cylinder form instead of like a badge.
Yeah,
because I guess it's too easy to steal a badge, but you can't steal a pen.
Well, we saw what happened, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I just never thought of it. It just
I had no idea what they were.
And I was like, when I watched, like, son of a bitch.
No, that makes way more sense than just being like, decorative
piece or anything. It's like, oh, okay.
Flare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at all my pens.
Yeah. You're supposed to have 23 pieces of flare, Bob.
But it also explains why the rebels have them too.
Yeah.
Because we were always wondering.
Yeah.
And I did some.
Even when you go back to what was it,
Well,
Rogue One,
I was
where
saying,
it's
we were
like
talking about Rogue One
One.
in the little circle when they were all standing there. We're like,
what's this? Yeah.
What are they
like
pens for?
even people like on the Rebel side had lots of them.
Well, Han Solo even had them in Episode 7.
Yeah.
He had them on his jacket, and I was like, why does he have that? Is he still part of the Rebel Alliance?
Yeah.
No, they're just they're keys. They're freaking keys, and I never realized it until now.
Like, this one's to my Equinox. This one's to my Ranger. This one's.
But Thrawn obviously uses these as well. They have to turn over their. We lost the mic. Are we good?
Yeah, I think we should be fine.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I don't know what happened.
It was probably me. I probably knocked it. Anyway, but yeah, we see Thrawn. He really values these, or at least the use of them, because they have to turn over their personal ID.
Well, it tracks them.
Codes, yeah.
I mean, you can either view that as being really micromanaging or just having like really good security records.
Well, I think it's probably both. I mean, because just to get into his office, even Lyste goes, "Well, I don't have to give you my code cylinder. I'm a lieutenant."
Yeah, and does that when they go into the office for both Lyste and Kallus.
Right.
Like not just one person opens up and they all get to walk in.
They both have to have it.
And that's with someone on guard.
Right, exactly.
All the businesses do that now. You can't, no piggybacking with your key card access. Even though like one person does, and then the 4 or 5 people coming right behind them.
Right. Well, I mean, you and I know that from working at the airport. That's a big no-no as well, right?
Yep.
I don't think we're giving away any trade secrets there, but yeah. So he
spoiler alert.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a big deal. So he's using this. It's security everywhere, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you want to get into Thrawn's office, you've got to turn over your.
Yeah.
Probably the only people exempt, I would think, from Thrawn would be maybe the Emperor and Vader, and that would probably be it.
Well, you would assume.
They didn't have to turn them over.
Well, they had to in order to. He put them in the terminal, and he gave them back.
Yeah.
They had to show that they had permission to be there, and they had to have access. So.
Claim they are who they say they are, and all that sort of thing.
And it just shows Thrawn's more meticulous kind of demeanor.
Yeah. Which is really weird. That you think there'd have been 2 guards there at the door. One to do when he turns his back to put the key in. The other one with the gun on the person as they're.
That I kind of thought the same thing. Actually, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but yeah, I did. I think that was more of a plot thing.
But it was kind of weird. So it was like, so we have one guard, and he takes their stuff, turns his back to him to put the stuff in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna get jumped and have his key card taken and used.
Right, or just they just make their way.
Well, maybe he doesn't have access himself. That's why he has to take theirs.
He's like, I just stand here and open a door that I can't unlock.
He's not allowed in.
Hello.
He's just a stormtrooper.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Is it nice in there? I've heard good things.
Let me out. Let me out. Let me in. Let me in. All right. So let's move on to Thrawn's office. We find out Thrawn has a dojo of his own.
I thought this was the weirdest part of the episode, to be honest.
Really? I found it.
All right, so
and I actually
he invites people over to the meeting.
Yeah.
There's people already there waiting for the meeting. He's like, oh, well, they're going to be a minute. I'm going to just go to hang out in the dojo and attack some assassin droids.
Yeah,
why not?
Because they're except for maybe Colonel Yularen,
and then
the rest of them, they don't matter. He doesn't care.
Well, the thing is, like, when he sees them, he's like, oh, you're here. Done.
Yeah.
Off. Thing goes up. Like, it's weird timing. It's like, it seems so impractical.
I just thought it was Thrawn being Thrawn. Thrawn's like, I'll do what I want because none of you people matter to me.
It's just one of those, I have a spare minute. Better use that to make good use of my time.
He's above him, but it shows a different side of Thrawn because up to now he's just been Thrawn the tactician.
Well, no, it's just one of the things, like, I feel like it's just thrown in just so you can show that Thrawn is more than a tactician. Like,
probably.
Like, because it makes no sense in terms of, like,
Like, I have a meeting in 1 minute. I'm going to keep fighting. Oh, it's time? Okay, now stop.
Oh, he's just waiting for him to get there. He's making good use of his time.
I don't know. I didn't
have a problem with it at all. I thought it was
it just seems socially weird. It's like there's people back there waiting on him.
Yeah,
well, that was the part that I didn't understand. Like I was like, oh, okay, so he was doing it until the people got there for the meeting, and then they walk into the other room and there's already people in there for the meeting. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, I thought that was just for me.
Like,
for me, it was like that's just Thrawn.
But like socially, that'd be viewed as kind of rude,
yes,
right?
It would.
Okay,
in our social setting, but
not
to Thrawn,
not in the Imperial one though.
Everybody in that meeting.
Like, there's a guy who's like,
Thrawn.
There's a guy where they introduced like, oh well, he's here just to help us out. And he's from a faraway ship thing. But let's fuck him. I'm gonna go work out in the dojo.
Now, if the Yularen was there, the Colonel was there in the room at the time, or Governor Price was there at the time, he probably wouldn't have done that. But he doesn't see those people as equals. He sees those people as inferior. And therefore not worthy of his time. So he's going to do what he wants until it's time to till everybody's there to do what he needs to do.
I'm just saying, it came across as kind of weird. And it seemed like just convenient from a plot point. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it was. But let's think about it for just 1 second. And I'll stop arguing it. But you have the Admiral, who he's made a mockery of in the past, is there. Admiral... Constantine. Okay, that's the guy he's hung out to dry in front of everybody. He's like, oh, one ship will be more than enough for you, Admiral, and he humiliates him.
Oh no, I'm not saying he hasn't humiliated like other people in the past,
but everybody in that meeting he looks down upon. Everybody. I mean, you get Kallus,
except for the special assistant that came over from the training facility or whatever.
Right, but he's not in that room until
he is
later.
No, he's there from the beginning. He's there when he's working out. That's why it's weird.
I don't think he's there. He comes in later.
No, I'm pretty sure he's hanging out in the room, and then it's both Kallus and
because he introduces
Yogurt that enter the room. Like,
but he introduces him later, and he comes walking out of another room.
I don't know, man. Like, unless he's like just sleeping on the couch or something. Like it seems like he's there
because Kallus is taking.
He walks out looking at his lady. He's like Yogurt.
Okay. All right. Either way. So now we've gone on a 10-minute tangent about social things.
About social faux pas.
Faux pas.
I don't know. It just seemed one of those things. Like it just seems so like there is a plot point.
Okay,
because it doesn't make sense in any other context. It's just there to force that storyline.
Okay. It'd be like if when we start our podcast, you're like, we're gonna do our podcast at 12:45, and it's like 12:44, and me and Aaron are sitting in here, and you're upstairs like just working out or something.
Okay, all right, I'll concede maybe it's a plot point, Aaron. All right,
that's all I'm getting at. Okay. It just seems forced. All right. That's my only point.
Jesus. Okay, so Thrawn has a dojo. And in that dojo, we see the return of... He has 2 Imperial sentry droids. Ezra actually calls them assassin droids. But the last time we saw these guys...
Yeah, you don't see them often.
No, not very often. Because the last time we saw them was the beginning of Season 3 with Hondo in the When Kathu Job episode. So, and I thought it was pretty cool that you see him fighting not just one, because one would be enough for anybody else, but he's taking on 2.
Well, yeah, but you don't know like how those are programmed.
Well, they try to kill him later. So.
Oh yeah, well clearly.
Oh, I think they tried to kill him later because that's how Kallus programmed him.
Maybe. You know that was like there's different settings.
It could be sparring.
There's like he has special ones made that have training settings.
You got easy, not so easy, medium,
and kill,
mild, hard, kill.
But yeah,
Thrawn's normally a medium to hard guy, but the kill was a bit much.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought it was. I really liked.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
Showing him take on 2.
Oh yeah, it was very neat to be able to see him like in battle.
Yeah.
Well, that, I mean, you also see like those little like weapons like selection he has, and there's actually some unique sort of things that you don't see often throughout the universe.
No, he's definitely got like his own private dojo, like I said, set up for this. For
and
training.
It seems like
combat.
He trains like there was like a tonfa like weapon there that seemed like kind of like something that was a bit unique. You don't see often.
Quite a bit of different staffs, and I didn't see anything that looked like a sword, but definitely a lot of different staffs and clubs and whatnot.
Well, I was wondering if maybe those were from like civilizations that he's conquered.
Yeah, like he collects them the same way he collects like artwork and stuff like that.
I could totally see that.
Like he's training himself like in like martial arts styles he's seen like throughout the galaxy sort of thing.
Yeah,
I could see that. That would be perfect for his character.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it would be nice if I'm sure they just made the shit up, but it would be nice if they had backstories for it.
Well, I mean, you have the Thrawn book coming out, next month?
April.
Yeah.
And in fact, they just released the first excerpt from, and we can talk about that towards the end of the podcast,
okay.
but yeah.
I haven't read it, but okay.
I did. It's got an interesting little tidbit, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we can talk about that.
Thrawn literally has blue balls.
Well, yeah, he probably does, but I never really thought about it until just now, Brian. Thanks for the mental picture. Delete.
Damn thing's broken.
But anyway, I thought it was nice that they showed that side to him. It gives Thrawn a little bit more depth.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an interesting character, aspect outside of the tactician and art lover sort of thing.
Yeah, so definitely good. So we go on. So he has the meeting with Admiral Constantine, Lyste, Kallus, and then they introduce the ISB Colonel Wolf Yularen. Yularen has been seen before. He's the old man in the white suit when they have the big round meeting table at the Death Star in the New Hope.
Okay,
that's him.
So he's going to make it to the New Hope, is what we're saying.
Yes, we know he makes it to the New Hope.
Beyond he doesn't die.
Well, he might die in the first Death Star. We're not sure. So he's there. He's also they reverse engine.
Do you think the Empire ever created a memorial for the first Death Star?
I don't know. That's complete way to go way left field on me. But
sorry, it crossed my mind. Like there was a lot of people that died in the first Death Star. They never really mentioned it.
It's just 1, 2, so it reads like 14,147 dumbasses died on Boba.
I think that's the Rebels' tombstone for the first Death Star.
Stupid airport.
Yeah, I could kind of see the Emperor going, yeah, they're all fucking morons. And
shouldn't have stayed on this ship.
Yeah, so, but I don't know. Talk to Kevin Smith. He's big on Death Star and employees and stuff like that. But yeah, so he's been from A New Hope. They actually kind of took that same character for Clone Wars and made him a younger version in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
There he was an admiral in the Republic Navy, and he served alongside not only Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Anakin Skywalker as well.
Nice.
So we've seen this guy before. So now we're just seeing him. He made a jump after the war and joined the ISB. And now he's like the big wig in the ISB and the big teacher. And
it mentions that Kallus was a student of his, right?
Yeah, Kallus is his. He was his star pupil, is what he said. That was the word.
Well, I think he said he was one of his star pupils.
One of his star pupils.
So yeah, he did well for that class.
Yeah, and he said he kept track of his
so
star
for that
pupils.
class of dumbasses, he wasn't a complete moron.
Yeah. He was able to make it past Stormtrooper.
Very much so.
Whereas everyone else that year, huge disappointments.
So Thrawn's brought him in to find whoever Fulcrum is. He knows he's figured out enough that all their failures that they had is because of they have to have a spy.
He brings him in because that kind of suggests that he might suspect Kallus already.
Oh, I think he does.
Because you wouldn't really bring someone in who knew that person that well. No. Unless he was already kind of one of the heavier suspects. No,
and he made some comments in some past episodes that makes you think that he's at least a person of interest.
Yeah.
To the Thrawn.
Yeah.
He has no evidence, but he suspects it. So, just by, how he is and how he's able to put everything together. And
he's connected
Kallus
some
is always
dots.
involved and, yeah, exactly. He's connected the dots. So, but the funny thing, like you were talking about, Aaron, was Yularen does not even suspect Kallus at all because he's even talking strategy with Kallus right out of the meeting. He's like, "Well, how do you think they're doing this? Do you think it's somebody?"
Yeah, they're talking about how they're transmitting everything. And he's talking about how clearly Fulcrum must have a way of transmitting things we're not aware of yet.
Do you think it's somebody from the communication team?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like he's supposed to interrogate these people, and with Kallus, he's just kind of like, well, I'm kind of skipping over that. You're going to help me find whoever the spy is.
Yeah.
Never thinks for a second that Kallus may be the spy himself.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's kind of a cool theme because it's the whole master and apprentice scene that we've theme.
Is it?
We've kind of master teacher student.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a teacher-student dynamic, but
it's kind of
it's not really the same, Sith Lord, Sith training, your Jedi Master Apprentice.
There's no force involved, but it's kind of the same premise because they're
it's
bouncing
just
off of each other.
They're bouncing thoughts, across each other, but it's really just like kind of talking shop sort of thing, isn't it?
It's their thing, right? They're both ISB. They're both
All right, fair enough.
Imperial agents and blah blah blah. So let's talk about setting up poor Lyste, or Lieutenant Dumbass, as we've come to call him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into the whole Kallus basically says, Lyste actually mentions like you learn actually how popular he is or how much.
He's a very well respected figure.
Yeah, he even says that no traitor escapes the eye of Yularen for long. So we get they're establishing pretty well that he is the authority.
They're
of
adding
ISB.
credibility to him.
Yeah, very much so. So, and then Kallus kind of uses that moment and kind of baits Lyste and tells him that the ISB is actually looking into Governor Price after I think even the scene before that he even propped him up a little bit. He gave him credit for capturing Ezra.
Yeah.
We know him as Ezra, but a bounty hunter or whatever.
Yeah, he gave him credit for it, kind of like drawing attention to him essentially.
Yeah. And he kind of uses that whole where Lyste was talking about how he wants to make a better impression. And he uses that against him. He uses his own ambitions.
I mean, you take someone that's really trying to be moving their career along, or They want that prestige, and giving them what they want, it lowers the guard.
Oh, absolutely. And I like how he puts his arm around him, and he's like all buddy, and he's like, well,
not something very common in the Empire.
No.
It really should stand out as a red flag.
It should to anybody else, but
stranger danger.
Yeah, pretty much everyone in the Empire, they have their boundaries. There's the little hula hoop you don't cross.
But so he baits him and he says, keep an eye on Governor Price. The ISB's watching her. And then switches out code cylinders on him without him even knowing. So.
Yeah, well, he's not a very well-respected person for a reason.
Right. And then he takes Lyst's code cylinder, frees Ezra with it, end up getting into Thrawn's office with it, and even disguises Ezra to look like Lyste to set him up even further.
So that way when Ezra does the little mind trick on the stormtrooper, he thinks it's Lyste.
Yeah, and he continues to bait him even the whole time. He's like, he uses the comlink and he tells Lyste, that Price is heading with Thrawn, and you learn to the detention
he uses
block.
that to know where Price and Thrawn are.
Right. And
that way, when they go into the office, they're not worried about running into someone in there directly.
Just like a game of chess.
And then you also have that moment where it's like, well, keep an eye on her, but make sure you're not spotted. That way my alibi fucking lines up.
Precisely. Yeah. It really shows a lot of skill for Kallus there.
Yeah, it's actually...
twist it around.
It's weird because whenever you see him fighting the rebels, see none of that skill.
Not really, no. Well, this is different, though, because this is... But I think I know what you're getting at.
This is more manipulation than it is like a battle skill.
It's not really a battle strategy, right? But he's turning things around.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of is like, oh, well, Kallus clearly works better as a spy than he does as an actual, lieutenant.
Agent. Yeah, I agree, because he's very good at it. He's very good at using... good at reading people. We get to see that. He's reading Lyste. He's using Lyste. He knows how to push his buttons, put him in certain places. Basically to have him be the fall guy.
Yeah,
the patsy
definitely does.
It's very very cool. So we get into you go back to Thrawn's office and how they break into Thrawn's office because they need the security code that we talked about, and
there's also the planets.
About the planets.
Yeah, they have the red planets marked where the Kallus assumes they are. But the funny thing is, I feel Kallus knows that map well enough that he's going to notice the change.
Thrawn, you mean?
Thrawn?
Yeah,
I thought the same. I actually thought the same thing.
Because you see Thrawn staring at it a few minutes later on where he's just looking at it, it's something's different. Oh, there was a planet there and now there's something there. And I think that's going to be the giveaway. Is he's going to figure that out.
I think that's what's. I think it's going to narrow it down even further. Yeah, because I think he's going to start
figuring out.
I agree with you that he's tactical enough to memorize that entire map by now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because especially he lowered it down to what, like 90 planets?
Something like that, yeah.
And it's kind of in a concentrated area, so like he's going to, not only does he have an appreciation for art that's going to be looking for like minute details, and he's meticulous enough as it is, but like I feel like just how they had that shown and set up, like it kind of suggests like he's actually going to like figure it out from their change. Like it might have been almost a plant waiting for them to come to change it.
Yeah, I think. Well,
that's what I thought it was at first.
Yeah,
he could. I didn't really think about it like that. He could have left it intentionally, but I don't think that's how it actually worked out. But I agree with you though that he is going to figure it out based on what they did, because he's very big on things that he's very big on, not only things that change but things that don't change, and reading into everything on all times. So.
Very meticulous guy, and
I think it's Sherlock Holmes-esque kind of
like maybe a bit more general warlike, but there's a comparison to be made.
Kind of, I mean, just the way he breaks things down and whatnot.
Yeah,
I think it's odd that none of the stuff in the future has a return to previous save spot. Like they can just go
an undo button.
Yeah, they can just go in and just change this, put a plan here, take that one out.
There should be a log for it in the data somewhere.
Yeah, you'd think so, but
it's just whether he'd actually go into it and actually look for that information.
Yeah. So, I think the big thing to take away from The Office was I liked how Kallus reprogrammed those sentry droids, because again it shows
it provided a distraction. Yeah.
Not only did it provide the distraction, but it just like Kallus's skill set, like we were just talking about, is expanding. I mean, he sends out secret communications that they can't pick up, so he's got some technical expertise there. He reprogrammed the droids, so it kind of shows that Kallus is kind of got a vast knowledge.
It's just weird because you look at him like in FBI season 1 and even into season 2, and it's almost like he comes across as being incompetent. Whereas this time, like you see it almost on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like in this skill set, he does really well.
It almost feels like
he knows his environment. Though.
It almost feels like it's a Filoni, right?
Yeah, Dave Filoni.
Yeah, it almost feels like he was kind of catching some crap, and like this guy, why is he even in the position he's in?
Yeah,
he doesn't
like a lot of like Empire characters. That
he doesn't have any kind of skill set that would do this, and now here in the last little bit, we're starting to get pieces of why he's actually kind of probably in those positions. He does have that wide skill set to be in that position.
That's a good point. But anyway, he does such a good job with the droids that even Thrawn, for a brief moment, thinks that Ezra's Lyste when he walks out the room while he's being distracted. Even so, in a way.
mean, possibly. I don't know.
But he kind of falls. Granted, he's fighting people, and he only sees them out of the corner of his eye. But
I wasn't even aware if he saw him. Was he?
Oh,
yeah, because he goes Lyste.
Yeah, because he saw the back of him run out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And he goes Lyste. And that's, of course, later he figures it out. But for that moment, I mean, they even fool Thrawn for a brief second, which is pretty good. All right, so escape from Thrawn's ship. So Lyste, being the patsy that he is
kind of being kind of eager about it.
Yeah, he continues. He follows Price, and by this point he convinces himself that she is the spy.
Oh, especially by the time that she's fighting with Kanan and Rex, who are in Stormtrooper outfit.
Show up.
He's like, "Oh, that bitch! I'm going to get her."
And he actually ends up helping them because he ends up shooting Price.
Yeah, essentially they get into this whole big fight, and just all of a sudden, like she has the upper hand, and just shot in the back.
Yeah.
And then you have, was it Yuhan?
You'll learn. Sees the whole thing.
Yeah, sees the whole thing. Is like,
the eyewitness.
Oh, you motherfucker! You fucked
up. Then Kallus completes the setup. He grabs him.
He tackles him, takes him to the ground, switches out their pens.
Switches out the cylinders and goes, You're Fulcrum, the rebel spy. Traitor, I think is what he calls.
He's just listening the whole time. He's like, what happened? I thought I was doing good. I thought she's a spy. What? I did fine.
So and then he tells Ezra he can do more good by staying here, and then he has captured Fulcrum as they're leaving before everybody shows back up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I were you guys, if you knew you were up against somebody like Thrawn, wouldn't you just say fuck it and go? I mean,
Yep.
That's
Most
how
likely.
I felt.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It depends on his ego, whether he thinks he's continuing to be able to get away with it going forward.
Do you think maybe he likes matching wits with Thrawn, or you
Possibly
think it's an ego
that,
thing,
and I think
maybe?
he hates Governor Price.
But yeah, he does definitely hate Price. There's no doubt about that.
Like I actually think like that's half his motivation.
Just to stay around and stick it to her all the time.
A little bit.
I can see that. I don't know. Like I said, I just thought the line was a cop-out. I thought he's just not really ready to join the rebels yet.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be that.
And the trust issues, but I don't know. I was just like, I would leave. I would get the hell out.
Oh, yeah.
I'd played this game as long as I can play it.
But it's also when things like leaving would show that you are Fulcrum.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely is, once you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah, and I think, though, you would think that going up against Thrawn, you can only play so long. You can only play the game so long before he figures it out, which he does. So, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with you, but that's just not how it's written out, I guess.
But I don't know. It's like, why? Why? I was like yelling at the TV almost. I was
like, leave, you motherfucker.
Yeah, you stupid ass. Go now. And then, of course, Thrawn, Kallus accepts his congratulations and his apologies. He actually apologizes for not capturing Lyste or Fulcrum sooner because they did attempt an assassination attempt on Thrawn. Of course, it's him. And then Thrawn, says, "Well, you'll get you'll be well rewarded and be accommodated." And sends him on his way.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice managerial kind of good job,
right? And then sends him out, and then. I think it's funny how he even waits for Yularen to say something, and then Yularen even says that was wrapped up way too tight.
Yeah, like Yularen has his suspicions as well.
Yeah, he's like, it's way too tight, way too neat.
Yeah, like everything just came together too perfectly there.
Yeah. And
like it seems too well for like it. They're used to having things like those little odds and ends that don't line up. So
right, and then it's almost like he knew Yularen was going to say that because then he gets to do his Sherlock Holmes moment with the.
Oh yeah. I mean,
with the bounty hunter.
Is the show's writing, so
right. But that's
it's a perfect setup for a monologue.
I don't know, Brian. What do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I agree with the way they kind of with the way it did it, but it was just weird that there was how big of that there was an assassination attempt. They just caught a spy, and your next thing is, well, that was just wrapped up too neatly. I'm fairly positive that's not what I would be thinking if that had just happened. I'd be like, oh my god, what a day.
Yeah.
Not right afterwards and like, well, that was wrapped up too neatly.
I think I would be probably even going into Lyste's past, and if you think Lyste is really the spy, or even if you don't, at least go back and see what damage there is.
Well, one of the reasons they don't
suspect
Kallus is because they know Lyste's history, and they're like, he doesn't really seem competent enough for this, right? No, he's definitely not.
That's true.
Like, one of their main reasons to suspect Kallus is, since that's one of the two people that was in there to begin with, is that Lyste has not shown himself to be competent in any way.
No, that's true. And then they do say that as much, and that's true, yeah. So that could be part of why even Thrawn, or why Yularen's probably having second thoughts anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he even mentions, like, Yularen himself says, like, Lyste doesn't seem smart enough to carry that out.
Yeah. And then, he does his deductive. The artwork's by Sabine. I believe
which seems a bit of a stretch, but fair enough.
Well, it's logical. I mean, he's been studying their artwork. He's been studying every minute detail of the rebels.
There's lots of taggers on any planet, I'm sure, though.
Now, I think it might have been a bit of a stretch when he goes on further to say that the young boy was probably Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
But he might be just doing a side-by-side comparison with Lyste. And
Ezra does seem to be one of the go-to agents for the rebellion in that sector. So,
and he might also went off and said who could look like Lyste and get away with it. Maybe that's how he deducted it. I don't know. But then I think the bigger thing is, he says Kallus is Fulcrum, and even Yularen goes, well, I wouldn't have suspected him. And that's when he admits it. And he goes, well, that's why you were deceived.
That's why most people were deceived.
Right, because he'd be the last one you would suspect. So. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty good episode, so I thought anyway. And I thought it was a good use of Thrawn here. Well.
It is actually one of the few episodes that's really developed Thrawn in a while. So
yeah, it's been a long time, and I enjoyed all that. But anyway, we'll get into that next with final thoughts and grades. All right, Mr. Eichenbauer. Since you found my final thoughts and grades kind of funny, go ahead.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the episode. I've enjoyed a lot of the last episodes. I haven't got really podcasts on them at all, but
yeah.
I did enjoy this episode. I'm more so the lightsaber duel action ones, but this episode wasn't bad.
Yeah. Aaron?
I'd probably give the episode like a B. Like, it's a pretty solid episode. You get to see development of Thrawn, some use of Kallus, but at the same time, there are some bits that seem a little forced and, kind of there from just to move along the plot.
Yeah, that's fair. I would actually I'll give it a B+. I liked how they showed the other side of Thrawn. I liked the mental game that they played. I liked the I don't know, cloak and dagger is the right.
It's kind of very much a spy espionage episode.
Espionage episode. I like that. It was nice, change of pace. There's just enough action in it. Yes, there were no lightsabers or anything huge action-wise, but it was a good...
You got some assassin droids. Those are cool.
It was some good action. There was some good, just enough to be a good spy thriller episode. And, we got to expand, and we know that Thrawn is on to Kallus, and I liked how at the end he said that... that Agent Fulcrum will be far more used to the Empire than
Kallus ever was.
Yeah, than Agent Kallus ever was. So,
which, if you look at season 1 and 2, that seems adequate. It seems a
basically you can tell that what's going to happen is they're going to feed him bad information, so he feeds it.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, at that point, you're just having information.
They're going to use him, and they're going to use him real well. But it does kind of bring up our point, though, that we've been talking about, that he does make a better spy than he does a cop, essentially, or an inspector,
or military leader,
whatever. So, so it's going to be very interesting to see what Thrawn does next.
Oh, yeah.
And how he's going to set the rebels up. We've only got, I think, 4 more episodes left, and the last 2 episodes are together, so really only 3 episodes left, guys. So.
So we might see Thrawn going on to the next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 episodes left till we see the Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan is not this next episode, but the episode after. Yeah. That's the Twin Sons episode.
Okay.
So we're counting down. It's getting closer, guys. So. Did you guys want to talk real quick about that excerpt? Real quick?
What was it?
So the big, and this is a spoiler alert. If you don't want to be spoiled, turn off the podcast right now. So you've been warned. The excerpt is it's almost like a prequel where Thrawn is first introduced to the Emperor.
Okay.
And there's a big back and forth between him negotiating with the Emperor to help him save his people.
Okay.
By him serving the Empire in exchange.
Okay, so he's serving the Empire to save his planet or race or something like that.
Right.
Because it's a dwindling race, right? He's the only one you really see in the Star Wars universe.
The blue vampire people?
He's
not really.
Well, they're called the Chiss. CHISS. But yeah, he's the Chiss. But yeah, he's so he's going back and forth with all this, and basically the Emperor's like, what do you got? What do you got as proof that you'll keep your word? What are you going to do? And he goes, well, you have my word. And he goes, well, the Emperor's like, well, how do I know that your word is good? And that's when the last couple lines in this little excerpt of the book goes, well, just ask your servant, Anakin Skywalker. Or he ask your servant, and the Emperor says, well, who's my servant? And then he goes, Anakin Skywalker. And that's where they leave it off.
Okay, so it's clearly he's aware of Vader Skywalker.
Right. Not only does he know Vader Skywalker, but obviously somewhere in the past, Thrawn
and Anakin
crossed paths.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more deep history there going on.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it kind of makes sense to kind of throw that in somewhere.
So I don't think the whole book's going to be a prequel, but I think it's going to show...
It has its moments.
It's going to have its moments. It's going to fill in some of his backstory. And I imagine it'll go beyond Rebels, whatever they decide to do, and however we don't know how that's going to play out yet.
Yeah,
because I imagine the last 2 episodes of the year, which is the last 2 episodes after the Kenobi episode, and those are going to be about the Empire finding the base and all that. So obviously we'll find out what happens with Thrawn and if he'll be around next season or not.
Cool.
All right, so that's our podcast for today. If you want to know where to find 4 Midwest Guys, I'll make it real short, sweet, and simple. We have a brand new website, 4midwestguys.com. The number 4, midwestguys.com. Type that in. That takes you there. We have a link to our podcast, to Podbean, to iTunes, to YouTube, to Twitter. Everything you need is there, including all of our podcasts. Our podcasts are categorized at the top. You'll see links. You'll see the names of the shows. If you just want to listen to one particular show, like this one, Star Wars Rebels HQ, or if you want to just listen to Marvel DC Kings, or if you want to listen to our brand new series Binge Watch, you just click the link and it'll take you to a page with just those podcasts. Or you can watch them in the order that they're released on the main site. So make sure you go to the number 4 midwestguys.com today. There's even a little welcome message from me on there. So just check it out, and you can also leave comments on each individual podcast, and there's a contact us. You can leave us a message. All you got to do is type in your email address, type right into the box, leave us a message, and then it'll come right to our email address. So plenty of ways to reach us. It's all one-stop shop. It's all brand new. Please check it out, and check us out there. All right, Aaron, I want to thank you for joining us.
Yep, no problem.
Mr. Ankenbauer, welcome back, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, man.
Absolutely. And for myself, B. Willie, saying, may the Force be with you always.